Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I see we have quite a few people still joining, so we'll just give it one more moment. We had quite a few early birds, so thank you all for that. Well, I'll kick us off. We'll get started. My name is Michelle Salerno, and I head the marketing team here at Celerant Technology. And at Celerant, we're excited to be here. We're excited to present to all of you today. And we're excited to be the preferred software provider for the Goodwill NCPP. And so in today's presentation, we're going to talk about the importance of an integrated software solution and how it can really bring value and benefit your Goodwill business. So many of you here today might be using different software solutions that maybe are pieced together or maybe just aren't even integrated. And some of you may be using manual operations and not using a software at all. And so today we're really going to focus on the importance of having a single platform and innovative software to manage your entire business. So first, some quick housekeeping. So on the GoToWebinar pane on the right side of your screen, you'll see an area called chat. And you can live chat any question our way. We will take some time at the end of the session to answer any and all questions. So you don't have to wait until the end of the session to send your question. You can send it all throughout. And then once we get to the Q&A portion, we'll address as many questions as we can on the live session. And then if we don't get to it, we'll answer every question after the webinar. We're also recording this session. So after the webinar, all registered attendees will be receiving the recorded link as well. So we have a lot to cover today. And so with that, I will introduce Ray Weiner. Ray is our Senior Sales Executive here at Celerant, and he will be presenting for us today. Ray?
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. We're pretty excited to be here and looking forward to showing you the Stratus retail software. So first, a little bit about Celerant. We've been in business for 20 years, actually a little bit more. We have offices in New York, California, Georgia, and Texas. We have a little over 1,500 total clients, 650 of which are at our enterprise level. And Michelle and I are two of 150 employees. Our clients have over 4,500 store locations. They span a lot of different vertical markets: apparel and footwear, specialty and gift, thrift, of course, the reason we're here today. And the flip side of that, the resale market, sporting goods, and many other vertical markets as well. Celerant has really merged the beneficial features from these many different sectors of retail and added some Goodwill specific features to build a compelling tool set that covers a lot of needs you may have in kind of providing yourself an integrated solution. Our clients' diversity is really a significant contributor to the robustness and breadth of the Stratus retail software. No introduction to Celerant would really be complete without mentioning our clients, the people who really made us who we are. Thrift businesses like our many Goodwill partners. Resale businesses like Buffalo Exchange, My Sister's Closet, Crossroads Trading, and Green Street. Apparel stores like Ever Eve and Cato. Specialty retailers like Mass General Store, Alumni Hall, and Stein Garden and Home. And of course, sporting goods stores like Omega Sports, Paragus Northwoods, Sportsman and Ski House, among many others. And of course, it would be remiss of me to miss one of our Goodwill partners in this introduction as well. You can hear a lot more about their story from their point of view and their journey to Stratus Retail on our YouTube channel. And I want to thank Frank and Diane for both attending this meeting today. So today, we're really going to cover 4 kind of buckets, if you will, of what we provide as an integrated solution. Some of these things you may already have in place. Some of these things might be things that you consider extending into your business environment. But we're really going to work in, in a progression. Think of it as your donation door to production, point of sale, and of course, your customers. So the meeting today is really going to focus on those 4 things. Before we kind of move on to the software, which will be in a minute, I do want to mention one key aspect that we think is a cornerstone of running a good multi-location retail operation, which is the internet is great, except when it's down. Our always-on POS feature ensures that your internet connection does not stop your point of sale from ringing, your producers from their production activities, and your team from contributing to your mission. Lastly, before I get to the software, I'd like to mention this. We really feel that Stratus Retail, in its Goodwill configuration, offers the most scalable, feature-rich software for a Goodwill operator today. We're really proud to be recommended by the National Cooperative Purchasing Program, and we're really looking forward to showing you the software. So give me one moment in housekeeping to kind of get my camera off, because I've got great sunlight, but it's squinting in my eyes. And once I turn that off, we'll go to the software itself. So like I said, we were going to start at the donation door. There are different ways that this can be configured, but this can live on commercial grade tablets and mini tablets that you can purchase inexpensively. You see it's rendering in a browser. It can also be placed into a container app if you need more control for that. But in essence, what you see here on the screen are the basic data capture elements. You'll determine during your rollout which ones you want. But you can scan someone's donor card. You can look them up by first name and last name. You can look them up by phone number or any combination. I'm just going to put a loyalty card in. And then it's going to just pop up a notification. What that's telling the attended donation center attendant is that they have successfully recorded this person's information. What happens behind the scene is that this sends a message either directly to the recipient saying, here's your link for a donation receipt, or it can be a little bit more elegant. I'm going to show you something a little bit more elegant. So I'm going to flip over to our integrated email platform, and I'm going to log in. And I'm going to show you a little bit of a tool called an advanced automation. So what's happening here is that when that message was recorded for the attendant, that data was sent over in real time to this system. It enters that donor on the active donors list, and we send them an email. Now that could be the end of the automation, but you can also choose to extend this automation knowing that that donor was on the list, wait a certain period of time, send them another email. The other email may be something different. It may be a request for an additional donation. Of course, the first one really is a thank you and a link where they can get the receipt. So If I go into my messages folder, I can show you an example of that. So this piece really has a lot of deep functionality, but as you can see, it's kind of waiting on some image files here. It's going to have a name merge, it's going to have a thank you, and it's going to have a link to get a receipt as you're having a call to action. If I go into preview mode, I'm afraid I'm still on our corporate network. I may have some images blocked, so I'll apologize for that. But some of it will render. So there's usually a nice big image here that is just being blocked. The header from your website, maybe. Thank you. Personalization. An acknowledgement about which store I made the donation in. And of course, the link to get a receipt. Now that link, assuming the customer is like most of us, does this on their phone, that link is something that they click and then it takes them to a web page. If I've visited that web page before, it might, depending on how you have it configured, open the way I'm going to show you, or it might ask you for a username and password. I've already got my username and password saved, so it's just going to open. So here is the action I just did. So remember, we start the donation door, we walk through the email piece, and now I can either get a receipt, a blank one, or we think this is really advantageous. That donor can start to detail the items that they donate, and they can set their own pricing, or you can help them. But you know, they can do this and do whatever they feel is appropriate. And then they can print a receipt right now, or they can go into this at the end of the year and take a look at all their donations and print a year-end recap for their tax purposes. Now this is really just a redirect to your existing website. We don't replace your website, we're just extending your website. We're using our integrated software to build one more aspect of your site. So it could be just this simple donor portal, or it could be something that ties into, you know, a greater customer relationship management sequence that you may choose to enable later. So to recap, we've really just started at the door. The products are in and they're pre-sorted. Now the work of production kind of takes hold. So the most important piece of kind of using our production piece is us understanding how your business works. What are your constraints? What are the things that are most important for you to accomplish? And what's your staffing situation look like so that we can make sure to match the computer effort needed to your available team member skill sets? There are a lot of different ways to use this software. I'm going to show you two basic ways to use the tagging application, but there are variations on the theme. So the first one I'm going to go to here is really a simple sequence. So first, once I've logged in, it assesses my user rights. Goes in and it's already put the correct color of the week on. Now, color of the week obviously is optional. Not everyone uses it, but if you do, that's pretty straightforward. Then you go in. You can set this up to collect as much data or as little data as you'd like. It's about measuring what your needs are in reporting and what outcomes you can reasonably get from your stores. And that decision can change over time. So maybe you start at one place, but you know you're migrating to another. So in this case, I selected Department Textiles, and it's asking me to select a category. So I'm going to select women and then I've got some price points. So every time I touch this, it's printing a hang tag. So if I touch $4.99, $6.99, and $9.99, I've created 3 items. There are parts of this software that allow you to account for multiple quantities, multiple pieces, those kind of things. But in essence, the workflow is this. Someone has gone through the manual steps of sorting the donations. They have passed the baton, and now someone's doing a quality assurance assessment. That person or someone else is now hanging things on a Z-rack. That Z-rack has some organizing principle. As we go back, that Z-rack's organizing principle usually is mimicked in the way this page is laid out, so that they can work from one end to the next. So if I started in men's or in women's, I'll go to men's. I'll produce a couple of tags there. I'll go back and do children, accessories and household, etc. If I need to go back one more, then I could work in my wares. And again, it could maybe be more categories or fewer, but then whatever you're working with. And these can be separate stations as well. But in essence, this is a simple data capture. What I've done here is really just produce a number of tags. You can also think that in this same context, you want to do something, but you want to collect a little bit more data. So we've got some examples here. So if we go into women's tops, you'll see that it goes into the same type of category selection I had earlier. So since the weather's nice out, I'll pick short sleeve. And now it's asking for different things. It's asking for condition, quality, and size. And every time it does that, you see it resets the page, and then you work left to right again. So it's really workflow oriented. So when I'm done with this section, it'll reset and we'll go to the next one. If I do need to go back, I can go back and go into the next layer. And it too has the same kind of progression. And each one of these items has a price. We're just not asking the operator to do the price. Those are really just choices you make. And like before, there were functions for special pricing, for piece counts, for quantities. So if I am done with that, I log out. And what it does is it takes the operator all the way out. So you'll see the software completely log out. It'll ask me a question, do that. Now, so that's version 1, if you will. This is version 2. So that's version 1, but 2 variations, a little bit of data and a little bit more. And all of that data flows through to reporting. So this one is really kind of designed a little differently. What it does is it can initiate a transfer to begin with, or not. It can skip this step easily. If you're producing in a store, you don't have to select the store. And then it has a similar look at this level that the previous one did, because it's a great UI. So it really lays out nicely. But then once it gets to this, it's assuming that you've got more price point oriented things. The last version is really more about price optimization. This one is about piece count and price points. And again, instead of price labels, you could have other labels do it. It doesn't necessarily have to show the price. But what this is geared to do is, it's like everything else, optimized for a touchscreen, but I'm using no touchscreen. So you select the value you want. You key in here how many pieces, and you hit enter. And it queues a list up. And then you just stay on this page until you want. And then when you're ready to finish this page, then you hit hang tag or label, whichever you're printing to, and it'll print those. So if I wanted to pick one more, and another amount, and enter, and then I'm going to produce the hang tag, and it'll go through and produce the hang tag, and it moves me back a layer and prepares me for the next group of items. So in essence, those are 2 of the foundational pieces that kind of create items. So let's take a quick exit, and I'll go into our back office software, and we'll kind of explore what we've actually done. So the back office software has a lot. I'm not going to try to, at this point, tour you around a lot of it. I hope that a lot of you will engage directly with us and with me, and I'll get to show you a lot more of the software. But we're really, hopefully, you know, I like to talk. Hopefully, we're going to stay on track today a little bit. So I'm going to look at products and product management, and I'm going to look at one screen and one single filter, just, you know, date created today, and search. And these are the items that that activity created. Pretty straightforward. So these products from 2031 and up were the ones that I created today. And again, you'll see different ones. But the point is this, and I'll probably just pick this one second in the list. The most important thing is it has 1 unit on hand and it sold 0 units. And all the attendant data that I had attached to this, the department class structure, the color of the week, the price points, and all that stuff is captured. I'm going to come back to this a couple of different times today as we sell a product and other things like that to relate kind of this. There are a lot of different configurations that we can do. You don't necessarily have to create a new item for each one, kind of serialized. We can map to existing item structure. We can create bulk items where an item is created with multiples, 2, 3, 4. So really, the production part, to a large degree, can be independent from how you look to and manage your inventory. And again, your unique situations are ones we look forward to hearing about. And those are ones that we can engage with directly. So let's exit out of here. And while we're in this area, I'd kind of like to lay the groundwork in one area before we get to the point of sale, because really we're trying to, at this point, talk about a progression, donation door to sales. So if you look in this area, pardon the ringing, if you look in this area under promotions and markdowns, I'm really going to focus on a couple of different areas. But the first is the concept of a term sale. So on the production screen, you saw that we were in production week green. Now I actually have this set to sale week black for my color coded. So if you look at this, I'm just going to search this without any filtering. You'll see green color of the week, and then off in the future we've got, you know, I don't have it active, but I have a 50% color of the week discount for green. Eventually will come out, and then I'll have another pricing profile for Sunday where I give it a different price and try to run through the rest of my inventory. In the black area, you'll see that right now we're in black color of the week 50% off. That's the one that's one of the ones that's currently active. And what happens is there's a calendar behind the scenes that switches these active or not and puts the start digging in dates in. So it just rolls through that based on your calendar. But you kind of reset all this up once, and then it just rolls through. So what the term sale really does is it takes some of the data points from the profile, and it says, in this case, 50% off from current price between a certain date and to a certain date for certain days of the week. And in this case, it filters all products where the color of the week field equals black. Pretty straightforward, but an elegant design. So that's kind of describing the color of the week. The next thing I want to sort of show you, just sort of lay the groundwork for what we're going to do in the point of sale, is the concept of a coupon. Now, there's a lot more to it, and I'll get to more distinct coupon use when we're in the customer relationship management part of today's talk. But in essence, if we look at this thing, I've got a few different coupons. I'm just going to focus on two. I'm going to focus on a military discount and a senior discount, things that seem to be pretty widely adopted. So percent off, in this case 15%, with a trigger of a minimum spend of 1 penny, no minimum items, no maximum items required, and it allows it on multiple items. And we'll look at this part, apply coupon at point of sale automatically later, but for right now, we're going to look at this as something that we can enable at the point of sale. So where it says include in coupon source codes, you'll see something at the point of sale where I'll use a drop-down menu and pick from this discount. This discount is available between these dates and on these days, and it has no product filter limitation, but you can easily add them, conditions of the sale if you'd like. This is different than the senior discount. So the senior discount is a similar setup, except in this case, restricted to 1 day of the week, and I've got it restricted to Wednesday so that it won't work today. And that's an important aspect of doing this. But otherwise, the setup is largely the same. Again, no filtering, no customer filtering, but we can enable that in the automated coupons later. So for now, I'm going to set the back office aside. We'll come back to it. And we're going to go into our point of sale. One note on the point of sale. I'm using username and password to log in. We also have a very elegant and approachable, approach to biometrics. There's a very inexpensive, easily managed device that you can purchase, from Amazon or from wherever, that is affordable, really scalable and fast and accurate, that can allow you fingerprints for login, and it can also be used for timekeeping as well, which we have timekeeping in our software. So I could log in with my fingerprint as opposed to my username and password if I so choose. So we're going to start with maybe the simplest evolution. Some Goodwill businesses that we do business with are not ready to do barcode scanning yet, and that's perfectly great. As they do that, we go in and we go to an item menu. This item menu can start at color of the week and then drill down if you do color of the week. I've chosen to bypass it because it's just easier for the example. And then you go in and you select whatever category you've defined and whatever product sets you've done. So, and it keeps moving you in and out of these so that you can effectively select other things until you move to the next category, or whatever way the products are laid out. And then what's happened when I release this overlay is I've got items and a total that have created my ticket. So that's certainly one way to do that as well. So let's go ahead and finish this just to show you a progression. And the most important piece, of course, is the ability to ask for a roundup, nearest, or template-based donations that you can change the values however often you would like. Select your tender. We do support 3 different credit card integrations. The gift card and stored value card part of this are completely included in the software. So no extra fees. Just select the tender. If the exact amount's there, you're good. If you wanted to key in the amount you're doing, you can key on the touchpad, hit pay, It registers the amount tendered, the cash due, and of course finish. At some point, I will also show you, looks like I'm getting a call. I didn't show you. I apologize. So we get a pop-up for this. Most implementations, the receipt goes direct to print, but I need to be able to show you that we've got a receipt. I'll bypass it for now, but we'll show you the receipt details later. Pop-up boxes in general are completely optional and configurable. So they can pop up or not, depending on how you'd like it to work. So in essence, that's maybe the simplest approach. Similarly, many of you operate outlets as well. And of course, the sales are by the pound. So you just use the item menu, you define it a little differently to select an item, and then it rolls over a scale. I don't have a scale, so I'm just going to override the weight. I'm going to put the weight in, select OK, and then it's selected that. So you can have multiple different things, maybe different scales and other stuff like that, and the switch just between the two. But it's a way to register scale-based weight items. And if they wanted to use the quick cash keys here, it does the same things as I did with the number pad, but a little bit more elegantly. Okay, now obviously, even many of our clients who are using the item menu may want to get to scanning sooner or later. Some in conjunction with production, some that are not quite ready for that and they're still working on other strategies. So I'm going to show you two strategies to scan a sale. In this case, it doesn't involve production, so pre-printed rolls of tags. The simplest way, of course, to do this is to just scan a tag, and then apply the tags, scan them, and you get an item. And then, of course, if you have an item that's, color of the week, it can automatically discount. So that's one example. And of course, that one's pretty good because then you get to optimize the price, collect the data at the level that you want to, and move forward. And in this case, I'll show you the receipt. So it's your store information, the items sold, the cash, any donations, most importantly, the reason code for the discount, of course, the value, super important, and a barcode for the return. The other one is a little bit different. Let's say you want to collect more data and you're willing to put a little bit more onus on the cashier, maybe not as much as they would by using the item menu, but you're going to allow the cashier to scan, but you want the cashier to actually give you the next layer of data. So this is a generic item that's color week blue. In this case, it's listed as a textile item, and the pop-up asks me, is this a children's item, household, men's, or women's? As soon as I select women's, it swaps from the generic tagged SKU to the more detailed one that really, it doesn't impact inventory because there is no tracked inventory here. But what it does is it gives you one more layer of reporting depth. So now you know it's a textile and it's women's, or it's men's, or it's children's, or it's an accessory item. And you know it was the color blue and you know what its price point was. So again, I'll give you one more example of that and then we'll move on because I think that one's a pretty easy one. This one, just same exact function, just more choices. And again, 100% of this layout is completely up to you and how you want to do that. And I'll just accelerate through this a little bit more. So those are basically two different ways to sort of do that. So let me now introduce one other concept. in sales, before we get to clienteling or customer relationship management or anything like that. So I'm going to take a couple of the same things that I did before, and now I'm going to use that drop-down piece I mentioned earlier. So under this reward button, I've got my military discount and my senior discount. I told you I was going to focus on the two. So the senior discount doesn't work today, and it gives the cashier a very clear message and an ability to acknowledge this without having made a mistake. And then they finish the transaction. Or in this case, I'm just going to accelerate our talk and choose the military one. It's going to apply the appropriate discount. You'll see I have markdown percent here in the column, something you wouldn't normally put into the point of sale. But I want to show you two things. One is that the discount is actually applying, and that what it's doing is it's always giving the 1 penny advantage to your customer, and that'll of course make your cashiers happy because some of your customers know their math pretty well. So there are other types of items that you have. Furniture items, for example. So today you have a furniture item, and tomorrow you get a much better item, and you only have a limited amount of floor space. So often what happens is that you have to have tags. So you have a two-part tag that, one, lists the item as a furniture item. You can list it in whatever detail you want. And it's asking two things. It's asking how much is it? So, the manager may control the tear off tag daily. And you might require a short description here. That's an option. So that's a really common one where you're selling something that we call an open price lookup, but it collects some data and it allows the setting of the item. You can also have a fixed price version of that as well. So in this price, the price is fixed. And again, these are not inventory items. So as the manager goes by and says, I need some room, this one was 24, it's now 12. It's an easy change, and they just redline that, initial it, and then that tear off goes up to the register, and the cashier knows that that's an easy thing. Then there are other things. These can also be on the item menu, and often are, like paperbacks and things like that, where you might have so many, you don't want to have a touch for each one, but you'll have the software pop up a change quantity box. So in this case, I'm buying 5. So then it just takes the unit price, changes the quantity, does the math, those kind of things. In this case, I've got $34.18. I'll go ahead and finish this transaction. And we'll do one other thing, which is show you kind of how a stored value card does, and then they just key in this. Sorry, I got the sequence a little wrong. 20 on the gift card. It could have been any number, but the customer can select how much it is. And I try to finish, and of course the software is going to stop me. It will give the cashier a very clear message, and it'll allow them to pick an alternate tender. You can also have the cashiers check the values of stored value cards at the register, or you can restrict that to a service desk environment or to a manager if you want to have that be a manager override. We really haven't discussed employee rights, but there's a very deep set of employee rights within the software. So that's really, in essence, the base POS sequence. So now I'm going to just do one other thing, which is I'm going to scan a couple of these items that I produced today, just to get some sales on the board. And we'll finish the base POS sequence here. The reason is I want to log back into the back office, and I want to show you kind of what that looks like from there. So let's hold that. I'll pull up another window. Look at this piece. And last time we looked at 2032. So I'm going to look at products. And most importantly, I have 0 on hand, 1 sold. And of course, we have mechanisms to, at the end of the color cycle, to archive the rest, let you know what was transferred off, how many pieces were sold in a color week, how many moved out. So there's a lot of functionality in there, but I wanted to kind of close that loop. So the next piece of kind of our discovery piece here is really to talk about the customer relationship management. How do we bring the customer closer into the point of sale sequence? So that really happens in a couple of different ways, but the easiest way to explain that is the concept of a membership club. Think your airline, so there's the silver membership, which in this case, this is just someone who enrolls in the club. And they have some discounting, maybe not. And this can be the place where all the setup is done, or it can be a shell. In this case, I'm going to use this as a shell. So when the customer registers, we automatically trigger a registration for them to be in the club. And in this case, there's a coupon that attaches to the club membership, and that's an important piece. Then there's another coupon that attaches to the more elevated member, someone like in the airlines that has flown a little bit more and has a little bit more reward. So in this case, you set a dollar discount, instead of miles, it's dollars spent. And how much have they spent this year and what's their available reward. So that, in conjunction with the same coupons that we looked at before. So think back a couple of minutes to when I showed you the coupon. The only difference here is, and I'll show you one quick example of this, is if I go into the coupons area and I look for customers assigned. Oh, excuse me, I need to look at this a different way, I apologize. And I'll look at this tier 1 reward. At the bottom of this coupon, you'll see club membership name in the customer profile equals rewards pro, and it'll apply that reward. And similarly, we also look at automating 2 other coupons in the sequence, which were the military discounts. So this one's a really abbreviated sequence, but I can make it really pretty easy. So we'll just scan an item or 2. Customer owes $5.33. The customer goes onto a customer-facing tablet, or we scan their membership card. In this case, I scan the person's membership card, and the customer, searches, drops on, shows you what their club level is. But also, the most important part of this customer's profile is that this customer is a military member. So that coupon automatically applied. So that's my example 1. My example 2 is pretty much the same thing, except I'll start with the customer. Let's say the customer has me scan her card. So I've scanned the customer's card, and Kim is on the receipt, and the toggle box immediately toggles over, and then we get to a color of the week item, 50%. And then we've got a couple of other items. Let me just do a couple more. We're almost there. We're looking for the magic number of 20. So in this case, this tiered reward triggers at $20. So at the point when I hit the $20 threshold, then it reevaluated the entire cart. It gave the customer the appropriate discount. So the color of the week discount in this case was set to double dip. So it did double dip, unlike the military discount that didn't. Otherwise, it gave Kim 10% roughly on each transaction. And then when we get down to it, we'll do a donation and the same sequence. Now, one more thing in the Kim profile is you'll see it exhibited here, but it's going to try to automatically process what we call a green receipt, which is an emailed receipt. It's going to fail. It's going to let me know that because I don't want to send outbound mail for demonstration purposes. But pretty simple, and it's a nice way to cover in that. The customers can register. We can provide you with in-store kiosks. We can provide you with mobile registration portals. There's a lot of different ways to do this. So remember back to the beginning of this, when I went into our email platform, I'm going to tie that out one more time briefly. So when my customers, Bill and Kim, came to the store and were recognized, they got sent over to this platform. Unlike the donor stuff, it'll come overnight. We don't have to do those in real time. What happens is now those customers hit a different advanced automation. So what happened here is the customers now entered what's called a trigger. They checked out. I'm going to wait a certain amount of time, send them an email. Maybe that email says, hey, when are you coming back? Or it could have a thank you for your visit and a wait, however you'd like to configure it. And then you can have a decision split, depending on what you want them to do. They returned and they bought in the store in the automation because we've generated revenue. Or maybe they haven't returned and I want to send them a coupon and prime the pump. And then we end the automation there. Or maybe we wait to see if they've used the coupon. But again, these things can be used to do a lot of that stuff. And then back to the message folder, in this case, we've got the email personalized for each individual customer. So when we go into this, and I look at the preview, again, I'll apologize for some of the image blocking. But when I go into here, it'll show you whatever my nice image is at the top that I'm not being able to show you, the header, the personalization to my customer, a note about a charity drive, a mention about his elite member benefits, current deals, if you have a web platform, oh, it's his birthday, and a birthday coupon. So, these things can dynamically appear and disappear, and you have one central template. So it's a way to extend your reach beyond the stores in a platform that the customers can bring this in, potentially scan right from their phone if you have the correct kind of scanner. So there are things to do there. So one final thing. So we really have gone through that cycle. But one quick other note is that there is significant reporting embedded in the software. I'll show you a quick peek, and then we're going to take your questions. So in the reporting section, there are pre-built reports. I've just got some really simple ones to do. The reports are based on user rights, so a user has whatever reports you allow them to have. The reports can be detailed or summary. I'll show you a detailed version. Depending on the user rights, they may have the ability to see all stores, etc. These also can be run on a report scheduler so that the end user doesn't have to click this, but it can be emailed to them. Depending on how you want, you can send it to them in a PDF form or in an exportable format. If there's someone who looks at reports on their screen, of course, it shows you in this format as well. A lot of functionality in the reports area that kind of come with the base package. And then the export formats, obviously, we support PDF and Excel and CSV. And in the reports designer, there's a lot of ways to take these existing reports and personalize them. There are ways to limit who can see them or expand who can see them. And then in the report scheduler, there is a mechanism to create scheduled reporting so that it automatically delivers to people so they don't have to be at a terminal and they can just get it on their mobile device. Excuse me for the pop-ups. I should have canceled that. So that's kind of the, the end of the prepared presentation. We're really looking forward to taking your questions and sort of answering those there. So let me invite Michelle back into the discussion. I guess I should turn my webcam.
Nice job, Ray. Yeah, you can put your camera back on. There we go. All right, so, while I'm switching back to the presentation, just a reminder to please send over any questions you have in the questions pane on the lower right corner of the GoToWebinar. That's where you can submit any questions over. And I'm going to share my screen. Ray, do you still have the PowerPoint open, or should I?
Yeah, no, I'm grabbing it right now. Thank you. I just swapping for it, but I'll have it open in just 1 second.
Perfect. And you managed to get it all in. I thought you weren't going to have enough time.
It's inevitable. Everyone, I hope I get to talk to all of you, but being in sales, there's nothing I like more than talking. And if you give me an hour, I'll take an hour and a half. So Michelle really put the brakes on me today, and you should all appreciate her efforts in that.
All right. So there we go. All right, so we have our first question that came through. And they said, I read somewhere about your end of day bin reporting. Can you describe that?
End of day bin reporting. So there is an extension part of the software that allows you to track equipment. So you can, allow the end users to sort of create requests for empty equipment and to report equipment used and empty so that they can get refills, especially if you have trucks or other things that run around your stores and they need empty equipment. That's one way to help facilitate that kind of need to move, fixed assets around the business.
Okay, thank you. And another question came in from Cheryl. Can your point of sale system reprint receipts for voided transactions?
Yes. So there are 2 things that are really notable there, Cheryl. One is that there's a lot of configuration on how you can void. So a lot of it can be secured. You can allow end users to do line item voids and all that data is captured. But if you do a traditional void, then of course, any receipt that reprints has void printed on it.
Okay, thank you. And a question from Dave. Are we able to change categories in the production screens?
Yes, Dave. Those categories are not preset by us. Those are really just populated via the data. So when you look at things like department and categories and other things like that, that's all your data. So if you start with one and then you change to another, it automatically reflects your new changes in the production screens. There's also some mechanism within the production screen configurations that you can limit certain categories, because there may be certain categories that you never use for production. You may just always scan an item menu or a scan sheet. So, you may not have every layer of your department class structure reflected in your production screens.
Okay, and then a question from Valerie. Is this a SaaS environment?
Valerie, great question. And the answer is yes and maybe. So SaaS, when it really boils down to it, has a distinct connotation in the market. Celerant, as with many things, we have a little different take. We absolutely offer a SaaS product, and what I've shown you is available as SaaS. But we have a lot of clients, some who've owned the software, some new ones who want to buy the software, and that's great too. We've always offered the same level of service to all of our clients, no matter the revenue model they're under, whether they purchased the software as an asset or done software as a service. Now, period on that. we think the better value long-term for many businesses is the SaaS model, which is really inclusive, one price model, and you kind of get everything under one bundle. But I'm happy to explore it more in your context if you'd like.
Okay, thank you. And another question from Mark. Can we print custom receipts based on items purchased?
You know, interesting question. I'm not sure which thread to pull, so I'll pull a couple. One is that the receipt template can be customized to a high degree. That's one example. Two is that there is some functionality in the receipt, specifically used often in California and other places, where notifications and other things based on products sold have to be reflected in the receipt, you know, proposition warnings and stuff like that. So that does alter the receipt, even though the template might specify a certain layout. Certain products can have flags to alter the receipt. And I hope that answers your question. If not, I'd certainly like to know more about what your requirements are and answer it more specifically.
And another one from Valerie. What method are the credit card terminals integrated?
Great question, Valerie, and it's probably my favorite topic.
One more piece to that. For example, Freedom Pay required. That was a question.
Freedom Pay required?
Is Freedom Pay required?
Honestly, Valerie, I don't know enough about Freedom Pay to speak intelligently to it, but the answer to part of the question I do understand, which is the integration method. So Celerant uses partners, 3 in particular, that are gateway providers. So the software and your environment stay out of scope of PCI compliance, which is the highest level you can achieve. So the most secure environment. And within those, really what's happening is your customers manage their own credit cards, insert them into the devices or tap to pay, and that information goes up to the gateway that gets the authorization and things like that. In our software, we do store the authorization token and other response data that you're allowed to have and allowed to retrieve. And that token allows you to be able to get the information from the gateway if you have need of that for a chargeback or something like that. Look forward to hearing more about the other aspect of your question when we talk.
And also to add, Valerie, we do support EMV and contactless payments as well, which is becoming more and more popular now due to the pandemic, of course. And we have time for one more question, and it's from Rob. And he asked, you're welcome, Valerie. And Rob asked if you can describe the implementation process and how we would be trained on the software.
Yeah, you know, that's an interesting question, and I'll give you a limited answer, but I'll invite you to another conversation. So in general, what we've done at Celerant is we've built an internal business unit. So again, we have 150 employees. There are certain employees who will be on every Goodwill project. We're basically trusting that as they go through each one, they learn a little bit more and have a bigger, broader understanding of the market and what the requirements are. So by doing so, we really accelerated the process that someone goes through the implementation team. We still do rely on a business analysis engagement. We still do rely on custom training materials and an understanding of your needs, but your needs may be a little different than others. Some who may not implement production right away need a little bit less implementation than someone who does everything all at once. So it kind of depends on which pieces of the puzzle that I showed you today, and there are more, you decide to implement. And then your implementation project goes from there. But the most important aspect is that we have a dedicated team that now has substantial skill and understanding of our Goodwill configurations and substantial exposure to our Goodwill clients, so that they're coming into this with a level of expertise that'll really benefit the implementation and your organization.
Okay, great. Well, Ray, if you could just flip to the last slide. We made perfect timing, and we have just a minute left. And so we have some resources here for anyone who's interested in learning more. You can visit celerant.com/Goodwill, and there's a pretty comprehensive page there that talks about a lot of the different things that Ray showed you on the software today. And then of course, this session is being recorded and we'll be sending it to each of you after the session. And then of course, Ray is eager to schedule any one-on-one demos as needed. And so you can reach out to Ray directly. And we also have product demo videos on the website. But of course, Ray will walk you through a personalized one-on-one demo, whenever your schedule permits. And so with that, I thank you, Ray, and I thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Take care.